It's one thing to recognize the nature of being when we are still, when we are silent, when we are in meditation. It's another thing to live from this deep depth in the midst of ordinary life. That's where the real journey, if you like, begins. Because most of the time human consciousness is identified with the surface movement of life. The next thought, the next feeling, the next desire, the next fear, the next problem. We become pulled by the movement of life. And we believe this movement is who we are. There's nothing wrong with movement, the surface movement of life. Thoughts move, feelings move, sensations move, activities move. Life is a constant movement. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we live from the surface, in other words, our attention is given solely to that. We live in a narrow bandwidth, a narrow sense of self, because we identify ourselves with that movement. We identify with the movement of thought. We identify with the movement of feeling. We identify with the movement of life, the world, circumstances. And then we live as the one who has to manage everything, that has to control everything, that has to defend. That somehow we're a separate existence that has to be maintained in something that is always changing and fluctuating. This creates an immense amount of internal agitation, internal stress. But even whilst the mind is active, and even whilst the heart is tender, and even whilst the circumstances of life keep changing, there is a depth that does not move. There is a depth in each of us that is not subject to movement. And yet so often overlooked. It's overlooked not because it's far away or out of reach or only for those who've attained some kind of spiritual accolade or position. It's overlooked because it's really close. It's right here, hidden in every circumstance, as the ground of our being, as the ground of this moment. It's the silent openness of awareness prior to the personal self, prior to the movement of mind that divides experience into welcome and unwelcome, spiritual or unspiritual, right or wrong. For most people, this is overlooked because attention is quickly locked into the movement of mind, the movement of division. But if we allow ourselves to fall inwards, in each moment, then we are less likely to get caught in that movement. It doesn't mean we become passive or detached. We don't somehow rise above the world or rise above our lives, floating in some kind of bubble of bliss. On the contrary, without the contraction of the separate self that takes place when we get locked into the narrow bandwidth of movement, ever-changing movement. On the contrary, when we don't live from that contraction, we can meet life more intimately. We can feel more fully and respond more truthfully. We're less likely to react from fear or speak from the need to be right. We're more likely to respond from presence and speak from a deeper honesty, a deeper openness. We're less likely to attempt to control circumstances in order to find peace. And we're more likely to recognize the peace that is always here, beneath all experiences. And yet, thoughts still arise, emotions still take place, the body still feels, has aches and pains and so on. And relationships still have challenges. But we don't mistake those movements for who we are. We can see more clearly. We can see that they are waves arising in a deeper ocean, simply expressions of life appearing in the vastness of being. So the path of awakening out of this narrow band of identity, the default position of most of humanity, is not to get rid of our humanity, but to allow it to be illuminated from within. And how is it illuminated from within? By giving us the opportunity to return over and over again to that which is essential. More essential than the movement of thought, or the movement of emotion, or the movement of circumstances. To be willing to see how we move away from the essential, how we abandon ourselves for the next thought, for the next feeling, for the next appearance. Every contraction, every movement of defendedness, every fear or every need to self-protect, that is part of the movement of life, catalyzed by circumstances, relationships, and so on, is an opportunity, an invitation to return, because it shows us where we've identified with the surface again. So when a contraction or a trigger or fear or anxiety arises, it's not to serve the purpose of self-judgment, but to offer us the loving opportunity to meet what is here as fear or pain or contraction, or without judgment. And in this way, everything that appears becomes a doorway back to the depth of being. And this is how the depth of being, the light of being, the essence of who we are, starts to illuminate our human life with all its turbulence and all its ups and downs. And so we don't have to wait, we don't have to postpone this illumination. This living from the depths of being. We don't have to postpone until we are spiritually perfect enough. We don't have to postpone for that special meditation. Every moment of life gives us the opportunity for this luminosity of being to express itself through the human form. To be free within life, not free from life. To be free within thought, or within emotion, or within any experience we can have that is part of the human experience, not from it. And the great error is to believe that awakening to the truth of being frees us from life, frees us from the human experience. No, to be free within it is radical. It's a radical shift, where instead of living from the surface, living from the outside, the periphery, we live from the inside out. It's as if there's been a 360-degree revolution, which doesn't bring us back to the same place. The 360-degree revolution opens the perspective, instead of being the narrow band, which is the ego perspective, the small perspective, the personhood perspective. We see life, we meet life, we allow life from the vastness of being. And so rather than asking ourselves, how can I get there? How can I achieve enlightenment? It's more valuable to ask, where do I identify with the surface? And am I willing to allow the surface, the movement, the waves, to see by falling inwards? And inwards is not just inwards, it's inwards and outwards. It's a broader space. So that those waves are simply movements within that. How can I be free? How can I know that which is free? That which is untouched? That which is unbounded? By anything that appears, whilst not denying that which appears, not attempting to rise above it, but to rise within it.